One person who has always stood on business and never backed down from the Rollin 60s or their boss Big U is none other than Blacc Sam from defending his brother against Big U.
Knock Nipsey out. Blacc Sam comes out, fires 3-4 shots in the head. He's fresh out the penitentiary. Police hit him right across the street. They see him. They come in, they arrest everyone.
To putting her in his place and letting him know what's up.
Demonstrate for hustle. This is what I'm telling you. Don't come over here trying to hey, guess what? Go do something and come back. Don't get cracking and come back.
Blacc Sam has never been afraid to stand his ground. Let's dive in. Blacc Sam was Blacc Sam and Nipsey Hussle, always tight with his brother Nippy Hussle and had his back no matter what. But unfortunately, on the day Nippy was killed, Blacc Sam wasn't there to protect him. A heartbreaking video later surfaced, showing Blacc Sam desperately trying to save his little brother's life with his own hands.
My friend, am I doing this?
We all know Eric Holder was convicted for Nippy's murder, but the streets, and especially Blacc Sam, know that the hit came from someone higher up. One thing Blacc Sam said that really stood out was how there were big politics involved with certain people, but there was a lot of politics getting into it with certain people. He even mentioned how Nippy had brought DJ Khaled to the hood, which turned into a major issue. Nippy had linked up with DJ Khaled and John Legend for the song Higher and planned to shoot the music video in the 60s, but as the story goes, as soon as Big U heard about it, things took a turn. Allegedly, he sent a gang of Rollin 60s members to press Nippy about it, but Nippy, being who he was, stood his ground. Hussle had DJ Khaled in the hood and Hussle frontline that, and we felt like certain people didn't like that Blacc Sam didn't mention Big U by name, but everybody knew exactly who he was talking about. Big U always had a problem with artists coming into the hood without checking in, and Nippy wasn't trying to play that game.
Big U and Nipsey had an argument, homie. Everybody knows Big U was shaking Nipsey Hussle down, making him pay protection fee, sort of. Nipsey Hussle got smart and say, I don't want to pay you $20,000 a month no more. And Nipsey Hussle come up dead. He lost his protection, and the hood killed him. We all...
Nippy always had a bigger vision. He wanted to unite the community, bring Bloods and Crips together, and work towards something bigger than gang politics. That's why he worked with YG and Active Blood to show that unity was possible. But that went against Big U's vision, and it made Nippy a target.
Like YG and Mustard.
My homies, man. Shout out to YG and Mustard. We clicked up in LA. We gotta move. YG can come to our hood. He's a blood. He's from Piru. We can come to the 60s. I can go over there. I've been over there with my jewelry on it. Yeah. Being myself, and they respect it. They love it. I was unheard of. You couldn't do that. So it's different.
Blacc Sam has always been the type to stand firm against Big U, especially when it came to defending his brother. One major example was when Nippy dropped You Don't Got a Clue, a track that many believe was a direct diss at Big U, especially in the first few lines.
I built this on my own and everybody know it's true. Still act like they supposed to have control of what I...
As soon as Big U heard the track, he and some of his people allegedly pulled up on Nippy to confront him, but they didn't just want to check him, they wanted to discipline him, and in street terms that meant something serious.
Nipsey dissed, right? And he was like, hey, cuz, is this song about me? So Nipsey stood up or whatever and was like, yeah. So he was drinking some water out of a water bottle and he threw it on Nipsey, right? He was like, we're gonna have to go get in or whatever. So he thought Nipsey was gonna back down.
They supposedly planned to take him away for a DP disciplinary action, but before things could go any further, Blacc Sam stepped in. Blacc Sam stood his ground and told Big U straight up Nippy wasn't going anywhere with them.
Blacc Sam said, cuz my brother ain't going nowhere. He was like, he ain't from the hood or whatever like that. He was like, my brother ain't going nowhere.
Then there was another incident where Big U confronted Nipsey, and it turned into a full-blown fight. According to sources, Big U actually got the upper hand and beat Nipsey down. But before things could go any further, Blacc Sam ran inside, grabbed a pistol, and fired a warning shot in the air to break things up.
Knock Nipsey out. Blacc Sam comes out, fires 3-4 shots in the head. He's fresh out the penitentiary. Police hit him right across the street. They see him. They come in, they arrest him.
And even after his brother was killed by the very same people, Blacc Sam hasn't changed his stance one bit. In fact, he seems even more fearless, standing on business and protecting Nip's legacy at all costs. A perfect example of this happened at the grand opening of Marathon Burger in Los Angeles, a restaurant Blacc Sam opened to honor Nippy. That day, he got into a heated argument with West's beloved rock star 2800.
Come on.
It's not exactly clear what started it, but from the video it seemed like Blacc Sam made it clear anybody who didn't take action against the people who disrespected Nippy Hussle wasn't welcome around them anymore. He wasn't entertaining any fake love.
Hey, demonstrate for Hustle. This is what I'm telling you. Don't come over here trying to. Then guess what? Go do something and come back. Don't get cracking and come back. That's what I said.
Even when Rockstar tried to defend himself, Blacc Sam wasn't having it. He sent him on his way right then and there.
Ain't nobody disrespected, bro, with my prison. Come on, internet. When you see that internet shit, when you see it, you know when my horse, when you see it, you know. Can't tell, you know what's happening.
And it didn't stop there. Another person who got pressed by Blacc Sam was Blacc Baby, who to this day remains friends with Eric Holder, the man who shot, and Blacc Sam confronted him about it, making it known that keeping ties with Nippy's killer wasn't going to slide.
Sam had a disagreement.
I mean, was it because of the shitty cuz thing?
Yeah, that's why I said over the obvious. You know what it was up. Basically, it was like, you rocking with him? Like, rocking with him? I'm rocking with my brother. You know, it really wasn't no words at first. It was all...
According to Blacc Baby, even though he doesn't agree with what Eric Holder did, he still considers him a friend, because Holder once saved his life.
It's like, I'm rocking with him. What you want me to say? Rocking with him, like, saved my life before. I ain't rocking with him over there.
But in a wild twist of fate, Blacc Baby himself is now in custody alongside Big U Blacc Sam, standing on business against a group as dangerous as the Rollin 60s, especially after they were responsible for taking out his brother, was no small thing. But instead of backing down, he's only doubled down, continuing to protect Nippy's name and pushing forward with the mission they both believed in now to fully understand the kind of atrocities Big U and his crew have been involved in. And why they're currently behind bars, let's break it all down. One of the accusations against Big U is that he has been involved in multiple murders, sometimes over the most trivial reasons. One name that appears in the indictment is Ryan Williams, his own artist. Back in 2021, Big U started a record label called Unique Music and signed up and coming rappers from the West Coast. One of them was Ryan Williams, but somewhere along the line things
heavily engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body.
It's not exactly clear what sparked the tension between them, but what we do know is that Ryan ended up dropping a diss track aimed at Big U, and that may have cost him his life.
Say that part of the investigation involves the murder of another young rapper back in
the song, Ryan called Big U a bro that made some money, basically downplaying his power, and then took it a step further by saying, "This song can get me killed for thinking is funny." Even crazier, he rapped about getting shot in the face with a .38 revolver that would leave no trace.
Referring to Big U as bro that makes some money, and that unnamed rapper may get shot in the face for thinking that his use of the studio and representation by Unique Music is...
5 days after dropping the track, Las Vegas police found his body in a ditch. He had been shot in the face with a revolver, and the cops think Big U is the one who pulled the trigger.
Track was eerie given what happened next. Just days later, the rapper was shot in the...
And here's where it gets even darker. Big U had known Ray Sean since he was a kid. He was actually his football coach back in the day. But that history didn't stop him from allegedly setting him up. According to court documents, Big Us label Unique Music flew Ray Sean from California to Las Vegas in January 2020 when they put him up in an Airbnb, and he was supposed to spend the week recording new music at the studio. But when Ryan missed one of the sessions, Big U and his right-hand man Sylvester Robinson drove out to Vegas to check on him. When they pulled up to the Airbnb, they asked Ray Sean why he didn't go to the studio, and he told them he didn't have a ride the next day. Ryan, Big U, and Sylvester Robinson finally made it to the studio together. No one knows exactly what went down inside, but what we do know is that a few hours later, Ray Sean was dead. Surveillance footage caught him going back to the Airbnb at around 1 a.m. He was seen getting out of the car, grabbing his suitcase, and then hopping back in. He was supposed to stay in Vegas for another day, but Big U allegedly had other plans. According to investigators, Big U drove him out to the desert, shot him in the face, and then went right back to the studio like nothing happened.
5 minutes later, surveillance video at the Airbnb showed RW exiting the passenger side of the car and entering the Airbnb. A few minutes later, he left the Airbnb with a suitcase, got back into the car, and left. RW wasn't seen again. He wasn't even supposed to leave Vegas until the next day, but he never returned to the Airbnb. Instead, his body was found on the side of the road near.
A witness later told cops that Big U showed back up at the studio at around 3 a.m. looking drenched in either sweat or water. When they asked him what happened, he told them he had just come back from the gym, but just a few hours later, cops found Rayshawn's body dumped in a ditch, and Big U didn't stop there according to the indictment. He tried to cover his tracks. He allegedly took recording equipment out of the studio after the Moore and told someone to get rid of the surveillance footage from that night. Investigators also believe there was some kind of fight at the studio before Rayshawn got killed, which is why Big U wanted the video gone.
Detectives and associate of Big U removed the video recording equipment from the studio a few days after the homicide, including video that would have shown RW and Big U at the studio before he was.
After Rayshawn's death, Big U knew the heat was coming, so he allegedly had one of his homies drive his car and stay at his house. That way, if the cops pulled over the car or showed up at the crib, it would buy him some time to escape before they actually caught him. Nobody really knows the exact reason Big U allegedly killed Ryan, but this murder is what put him on the FBI's radar. Just a month after Ryan's death, the feds officially launched an investigation into Big U Enterprise. Everybody already knew Big U was one of the top dogs in the Rollin 60s Crips. He never hid his gang ties. He was always talking about how he came up robbing cars and earned his rep in the streets by putting hands on his enemies. Back in the 80s, Big U was deep in the drug game, but he claimed he gave it up after reading the autobiography Malcolm X. That's when he switched lanes and got into the rap industry. He started managing artists, and one of the first big names he worked with was Corrupt. But Big U never really left the streets. In 1991, he got caught up trying to steal a massive load of cocaine from an undercover cop, which landed him in prison for 13 years. While locked up, Big U was still on his gangster time. He admitted to stabbing multiple people in prison and even bragged about knocking a dude's eyeball out of its socket with a single punch after serving his time. He came home in 2004 and rebranded himself as a community leader by starting a charity called Developing Options. On paper, Developing Options was supposed to help kids stay out of the streets and get involved in sports, but according to the feds, Big U was using the charity as a front to move dirty money. The city of LA even funded Developing Options through the Gang Reduction and Youth Development Grid program, giving Big U over $500,000 a year. Since 2015, that money was supposed to go toward at-risk youth, but instead Big U was allegedly pocketing a huge chunk of it. And it wasn't just government money, even celebrities got caught up in the scam. According to the indictment, Draymond Green and Shaquille O'Neal both donated $20,000 each to Developing Options, thinking they were supporting a good cause. But instead of helping kids, Big U allegedly transferred the money straight into his personal account.
He's accused of embezzling donations made by celebrities, professional athletes, businesses to his charity, Developing.
Some people got scammed out of money, others got hands put on them. One of the wildest stories in the indictment involves boxer Adrian Bronner. Back in 2019, Bronner allegedly set up a high-stakes dice game in LA, inviting a bunch of NBA players. The problem was that Bronner and his crew were using trick dice and ended up finessing millions from the players. When Big U heard about it, he wasn't happy, not because of the scam itself, but because Bronner didn't check in with him first. So Big U sent his crew to rough up Adrian Bronner. After that, Big U took the money Bronner had stolen from the NBA players and gave it back to them. But of course, it wasn't just out of the kindness of his heart. He allegedly made each player pay him $100,000 in exchange for getting their money back. And according to an FBI informant, this wasn't just a one-time thing. A lot of NBA players and celebrities would check in with Big U to make sure they were safe at parties, games, or advertising shoots. Anyone who didn't check in risked getting pressed by Big U's crew. Big U even once said, "If I don't pick up the phone, that could mean death for somebody." The indictment also reveals that Big U was shaking down weed dispensaries, forcing them to pay him $25,000 a month just to operate without problems. One dispensary owner couldn't afford the payments anymore, so Big U sent his goons to rob the shop. Armed men stormed and stole cash and a bunch of weed. Then later that same day, Big U called the shop owner to his house. When the owner showed up, Big U had all the stolen money and product laid out on the table and told him, "That's how you rob yourself." Then, just to add insult to injury, he made the guy pay him another $10,000 to avoid getting robbed again. But Big U wasn't done yet. He wanted to rob more dispensaries. He told the same shop owner to help him set up other weed stores, promising him a cut of the money as proof of how serious he was. Big U even handed the guy back some of the money that had just been stolen from his own shop. And the craziest part is Big Yu's crimes were being talked about in the open right on the internet. His homie Loose Cannon went on No Jumper and detailed the weed dispensary robbery, not realizing that the feds were watching closely. Investigators quoted the interview in their indictment, using Loose Cannon's own words against him. After the episode aired, Big U was pissed. He allegedly sent No Jumper a cease and desist letter forcing them to take the episode down. But by then, it was too late. The damage was already done.
At this point, Big U actually sent you a cease and desist. Did you take that interview down?
We did.
And that wasn't the only thing Loose Cannon admitted to on No Jumper. According to the indictment, he also talked about how he and Big U extorted a celebrity rapper for $50,000. Loose Cannon wasn't just running his mouth, he was still active in the streets. On January 3rd, 2025, he allegedly pistol-hipped a man, put a gun to his head, and let two of his homies snatch his jewelry, cash, and phone. According to the cops, Big U had his hands in extortion schemes all over the city. One of the wildest incidents in the indictment goes back to 2021 when Big U threw a birthday party for himself at a nightclub. He told the club owners that he was going to bring in some huge rappers like T and Wiz Khalifa, so they struck a deal. Big U would get 30% of the money made at the bar that night. But when Big U and his crew pulled up, things took a turn. Instead of just collecting his cut, he forced one of the club owners into a back room and extorted him for $30,000. The feds had already been watching Big U and his crew for years, and this was just another incident on a long list of crimes they were tracking. They had wiretap surveillance and paid informants, and they were building a solid case. At one point, the feds actually recorded Big U plotting a robbery. It all started when a celebrity rapper got jacked for his studio equipment. Big U heard about it and decided he was going to rob the guys who stole it. Some of the stolen equipment had an Apple AirTag on it, meaning they could track it in real time. Big U and his crew loaded up their guns, tracked the thieves down, and were about to hit the lick. But at the last second, they spotted cops in the area and decided to call it off. That wiretap was a major piece of evidence in the feds' case, proving that Big U was still operating like a crime boss, even though he was trying to convince the public that he had changed. But in a different wiretap conversation, Big U pretty much exposed himself. He told someone, "If I ever had a problem with any man, color, creed, king, or kind of issue would have been resolved, he wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't be here. I'm still who they say I am, and I'll pull up on your block right now and show up and show out." That's what happened to the last dude that thought I retired. The feds also had informants feeding them information from the inside. At one point, an informant actually handed Big U money while undercover. But what Big U didn't know was that the cash was coming straight from the feds. They recorded the whole thing, giving them video proof that Big U was still moving money under the table before turning himself in. Big U went live on Instagram to deny everything. He told his followers that all these stories about him were trash and that he was only trying to help his community. According to him, people were just trying to bring him down because they didn't want to see him win. One of the most surprising parts of the whole situation is that Big U's own son is a rising star in the NFL. Diane Henley, a linebacker for the Los Angeles Chargers, is in a position to take care of the whole family. He's out here making legit money in the league, but instead of chilling and living off his son's success, Big U just couldn't leave the streets alone. Now, instead of enjoying his son's rise in the NFL, he's facing the possibility of life in prison.